This is brilliant. He's coaching me cross.
Little commie bastard.
Oh! Have you pissed in your own Wellingtons?
Yes.
Chaps, I'm not going to lie to you, this feels a bit perilous. Shit.
I've had a brilliant idea.
Oh, God.
James May, here I come.
You must have the greatest job in the world.
Yes, people have said that. And, it would be churlish to grumble about any aspect of it because we, under normal circumstances, travel the world, or at least at the moment travel over the UK. We get to do some things that we probably wouldn't otherwise do. And it's technically a job. So, yes, I'm not going to say, it can be very stressful, because it isn't really. It's great.
Although I would say you have the second best job in the world, because in fairness, you're working with Hammond and Clarkson, and in this lockdown feature, they give you a hard time again, so they get the benefit.
Yes, they do, but I'm there to help them deal with their own shortcomings and inadequacies. So it's a symbiotic relationship. I was going to say the one thing you could complain about is the company, but I won't.
Because in this particular, the Grand Tour Presents Lockdown, it is kind of, you do seem to get the rough end of the stick when it comes to, I know that traditionally when you guys get together, all of your adventures involve everything, all that fabulous male bonding of abuse and pranks and everything. You do seem to get more than your fair share in this one.
But I'm much tougher than the others, remember. Hammond is very sensitive and Jeremy is made of digestive biscuits, so we have to be more careful.
And tell us about the show. Like, can you describe the show for us? Because it's out today. So just to run us through how it actually works.
Okay, well, it's the usual mix of authoritative commentary on cars with panto and a little bit of circus and some sitcom. It takes place in Scotland. Partly because we couldn't leave the UK, but actually we've talked a long time about doing something in Scotland because it's a fabulous place to film. It looks wonderful. It rained like hell, obviously, at Scotland, etc., all the old jokes, but even in the rain, it looks rather fantastic. And we're addressing a question that we've talked about for years, actually, which is, were the great American cars of the 70s and 80s suitable for the UK, and why didn't our mums and dads buy them? So we, in a very academic, very thorough way, researched the question by buying some crappy old American cars and driving around in them, annoying people.
And they are fabulous cars. The cars involved are absolute American classics. That must have been an amazing buzz in itself. Although I suppose at this stage, you must have driven every blooming car there is.
Not everyone, but certainly a very wide variety. I think the thing with those are, in the true sense, iconic, those American cars from that era, because we watched them as kids on the telly and, in Hollywood films and things. And we loved the opulence and the extravagance of the styling and the sheer size of them. They were just magnificent compared with our mums and dads' cars. But there's always a risk in meeting your heroes, as with everything else, footballers, pop stars, politicians, and all the rest of it, because the fact is they're very old cars now and things have moved on. And although they're fascinating and my Cadillac was supremely comfortable, they are also, they're clunky. You realize that a lot of time has passed since I was a teenager, unfortunately, and a lot of technology has moved on, and for the better, let's be honest.
Yeah. I don't think it's given anything away to say these cars are absolutely not suitable for British roads today, though, is it? No,
I think that's... When we ask that question, why didn't we have these cars? Everybody will immediately say, well, they use too much fuel and they're too big. And that is undoubtedly true, but that's not the whole story. It is nuanced, I think we can say, the discussion. Right. But yes, you're right. They're not, there are quite a lot of small roads all over the British Isles, not just in Scotland. Scotland has some very small, narrow roads, but we've got loads of those in England as well. I was on some the other day. Big cars are a problem. We're seeing this problem now with the enthusiasm for big SUVs and things. And I've got a Tesla Model S, and to be brutally honest, it's a bit too wide for Britain. It's
wow.
that simple. So, yes, size is an issue in cars, and it's actually it's the width of cars that is the issue. It's not the length, because the length of the road is effectively infinite, but the width of the road, if you get two wide cars coming towards each other in a bit of Cornwall, where the roads are very narrow and have very steep banks at the sides, then you're stuffed. You could be reversing for half a day.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously Scotland, you mentioned it already, that Scotland is one of the stars of this show because it's stunning scenery wise and all that sort of stuff. But the other aspect of the Scottish element, if you like, in this was when you took on the cooking on a couple of occasions and reverted to that wonderful Scottish tradition of deep frying everything, including peas, if it's not giving stuff away too much.
I mean, we know it's a bit of a cliche and it's not entirely true, and we are, as usual, really mocking ourselves rather than anybody else. But as an experiment, it's quite interesting because deep frying is not such an absurd idea. I mean, it's done in Japan. Tempura is really just a form of deep frying vegetables and pieces of fish and so on. And there's no reason why the kedgeree that I deconstructed shouldn't be done deep fried. I mean, most of it is fish, and we eat fish in batter. That's perfectly okay. Yeah. It's a bit odd to eat a rice ball in batter, but it's not that unusual in Asia. So there's a precedent for all these things. None of it is inedible or horrible. It's just a little bit surprising, and it's not actually.
It's just a matter of interest. I mean, we do have a vested interest in this. We actually have a little feature on the radio show where we kind of fry things that aren't traditionally fried, be they deep fried or pan fried or whatever. So we're just genuinely curious what the absolute truth was about the deep fried peas.
Well, I suppose there's a helicopter flying over. It's probably one of my neighbours has murdered someone again. But so if I can talk like a chef now, even though I'm not one, but peas are obviously quite a delicate flavour. Batter is quite a strong accompaniment, which is why it works with things like cod and haddock. But batter isn't man enough to overpower the humble pea. So if you get effectively a pea ball, this is the trick: get your peas together in a ball, get them slightly stuck together. You could use a little bit of egg yolk from your batter mixture to do that. You have to deep fry them very quickly because obviously it doesn't take much to cook a pea, and you don't want to overdo them. But if you make a light enough batter, again, sort of almost Japanese style rather than the British style, very, very high temperature, very brief deep fry, you have effectively pea tempura. And that's not a ludicrous idea at all. If you're going to do some experiments, I would recommend trying it. It also makes them much easier to eat because they're just all in one convenient ball. They don't fall off the ball.
It's such a more realistic thing for us to try as well.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense for us. And I'm so impressed with the way he sold it as well.
Yeah, it sounds actually delicious, in fairness.
Yeah, well, I might have oversold it a bit, but it's worth a go.
So listen, James, obviously this is the first of potentially, well, who knows how many the Grand Tour Presents specials that might happen. I mean, can you tell us anything about future plans? I mean, is there anything in the pipeline or?
Yes, there are a number of things in the pipeline. I mean, this UK special is the first of two UK specials. We filmed the other one recently. That's going through the editing and what have you process. So this is, if you like, part one of a double bill. They are separate. They're going to be separated by quite a lot of time. I mean, I wouldn't wait in the cinema for the next one. But you can think of this as a UK double bill for this year. And some of the things we were planning in more far-flung places, which had to be postponed because of COVID, we're going back hopefully to doing those next year. So none of those things have been binned, but we've done too much work on them for one thing. They are in abeyance. They're on the back burner, but they will come eventually. We can't really control things like what happens with COVID and vaccinations and local lockdown, quarantine laws and all the rest of it. But as soon as we are able, we will do it. But also, can I say on that point, I don't think people are going to watch our Scotland special or the one after that, which takes place in Wales and England. And they're not going to go, they're only in Scotland. Scotland's as interesting as anywhere else, and so is Wales and England. I mean, everywhere is interesting.
I agree. And it's also great to hear that there is plenty more planned, because I did read somewhere one of your quotes that you thought of the potential things that might actually stop you ever doing things like the Grand Tour. That the one you backed most was death, which is kind of, so it's good to know you're going to keep at it, you know.
No, I think the way these things work out, we probably will have to keep doing it until one of us just suddenly croaks on set. There's sort of no way out. We've always said in the past, this will end one day, and we have to land it with dignity. It mustn't be a car crash, and it mustn't be remembered as something that fell apart. But we don't know how to do that. So I think it probably will just have to keep going till it falls apart. But anyway, people will enjoy that as well, you know.
Well, we're very glad to hear that you'll keep doing it, because it's absolutely brilliant. The Grand Tour Presents Lockdown is the current special on Amazon Prime Video at the moment. James May, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you.
Thanks. And you have
Thanks
a great one.
Bye-bye now.
Right, bye. Bye.